No place like the Q. Family, it's your favorite queer radio personality, Anna Deshawn, and this is Queer News, your favorite weekly news pod where race and sexuality meet politics, culture, and entertainment. I like the power of the people and the power of the people won't stop. Hey, whoa, whoa, Elon Musk has got to go. Yes, those were the sounds of the hands-off protests that happened around the country and honestly around the world. They're reporting 1,200 locations, all 50 states and globally, okay? More than 150 groups, civil rights organizations, labor unions, LGBTQ advocates, okay? I saw signs that read, "Resist," "End the oligarchy," "Hands off our democracy," "Let's get in some good trouble." And there were 3 demands, family: end the billionaire takeover, end any cuts to federal funds for Medicaid and Social Security, end the attacks on immigrants, trans people, and other communities. It was beautiful. What's happening is beautiful. People are angry. People are rising up. And I think we'll look back at Cory Booker's stand of 25 hours and say that this is when people decided enough was enough. And can y'all believe it hasn't even been 100 days yet? Whew. Also, family, I love how y'all keep dropping me queer news tips. Please keep sending in the people, organizations, events, news that you think folks should know about. Everything doesn't make a blog, but I know there's some beautiful things happening in your communities. Please, if you've got a queer news tip, check the show notes for all the details. And QCrew, thank you for your continued financial commitment to this podcast. It literally couldn't happen without you. We do this together, okay? You help cover the cost of our editor, Ryan, who is absolutely amazing. And if you don't give today, please, if you believe in the work we do, if you believe LGBTQ stories need to be amplified, and if you love and respect how I report on the news, please consider joining the QCrew. A link is in where? The show notes. Now for the news. In politics, we've got some good news coming out of Wisconsin and Montana, okay? And we'll also remember 2 of our trans siblings who were taken too soon. In culture and entertainment, I'll share about a recent experience I had speaking at AIDSWatch in DC. TS Madison has officially opened the TS Starter House for Black trans women in Atlanta, and the 2nd season of Survival of the Thickest features a trans wedding, and it's beautiful, okay? So let's get into it. Family, as promised, we'll start the podcast with good news until further notice. And in politics, how could we not lead with the big win coming out of Wisconsin, where liberal Susan Crawford won a seat on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. And typically, this isn't even something that would be news, but her opponent was backed by Trump, which meant Elon Musty dropped millions into the Republicans' campaign. And please, I'm gonna be specific, okay? It's reported he spent $20 million. And overall, according to the Brennan Center for Justice, over $53 million was spent on the Republicans' campaign for this Supreme Court seat, okay? But let's be clear, Democrats weren't too far behind, roughly $8 million less. So this Supreme Court seat cost nearly $100 million. That is ridiculous. Can we please get money out of politics? Because this is wild, okay? Literally making it the most expensive state Supreme Court race in U.S. history. Musty even decided to visit Wisconsin, okay? And everything was posting all over X about it. And what a sweet victory in such a highly contested state as Wisconsin. And with this win, liberals maintain a 4-3 advantage on the court. Judge Crawford, who won that seat, okay, she said, as a little girl growing up in Chippewa Falls, I never could have imagined that I'd be taking on the richest man in the world for justice in Wisconsin. And she went on to say, and we won. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And this matters so much today. That's one of the things giving me hope are that the judges are ruling against these unconstitutional Trump policies. And let's be very clear about this. If judges fall, our democracy will fall faster with it, okay? Faster than we can blink an eye. So let's go, Wisconsin. Let's go. Now, we must remember 2 trans women who were taken too soon. Linda Moran, we speak your name today. Linda was a 30-year-old Latina trans woman who was shot and killed by police in Los Angeles after calling them for help. Linda survived on the streets of LA doing sex work. On this night, she called the police, saying she was being held against her will, and reports are saying she was being sex trafficked. The edited body cam footage that I saw goes for about 17 minutes, so I'm unsure about how long they were really there. Linda and the Spanish-speaking police officers were talking, and at one point they were even close enough where the police were inspecting her head. You can see it on the body cam footage because she said she was bleeding. She told them that she wanted to die. And after a while, she became very visibly upset. It was clear from what I saw that she was absolutely having a mental health crisis. She began refusing their help and telling them to go away. And at this point, she grabbed a knife and looked like she was just gonna harm herself. And then she started to walk out of the kitchen area and they shot her. And they decided to still put her in handcuffs. And after weeks in the hospital, the decision was made to pull her from life support. In 2023, Linda became connected to the Sidewalk Project in MacArthur Park, and they helped her access housing, but she still didn't feel comfortable in shelters. They would throw away her things, and it wasn't a fit for her. And when they received word of what happened, they went to the hospital to be with her. They shared Linda was a devout Catholic who would carry around a 5-pound statuette of the Virgin of Guadalupe in her suitcase. But when they arrived, they didn't see it. So you know what they did, family? They ran out to find one and bring it back to her hospital room. Kim Soriano, a researcher with the Sidewalk Project, said Linda told her she carried it around because it offered her protection. I appreciate this reporting by queer outlets because they shared that she did not pass away alone, that they were there with her. Now legal action is being taken against the police. And honestly, family, I think this is just a perfect example of why the police should not be responding to a mental health crisis. And when they see one taking place, somebody else has to be called. They're trained to kill, period. Not subdue. And in this case, from what I saw, there had to be other ways. There had to be other ways to subdue her, to de-escalate that situation outside of using a gun. Linda Moran, we speak your name today. Next, we remember Kaitoria Kai Bankz, a 31-year-old Black trans woman who was shot on Transgender Day of Visibility of all days in an attempted carjacking in Alabama. She was with her brother, and they were meeting up with Kelman King. Now, why they were meeting up with him is still unknown, but what we do know is that when they met, Kelman tried to carjack them and ended up shooting both Kai and her brother. Her brother's wounds were not fatal. I read a report that suggested that maybe Kelman had set her up for being a trans woman. Another report said maybe they were meeting up for a sexual encounter. But then her brother was there as well. So here's hoping the truth comes out, but what we do know is that the next day, Kelman turned himself into police and is being charged with murder and attempted murder. Family, Kai was a PrEP navigator with the Knights and Orchids Society, an LGBTQ organization in Alabama. And in a statement published by the organization on Instagram, they say Kai was the embodiment of TKO's mission to build power within our community. Her drive and dedication to providing life-saving services to our clients exemplified our commitment to helping Black TLGB+ people across the South live full and healthy lives free from harm. The executive director said Kai was a bright light in our organization. Her clients, many of whom relied on her crucial support services, will deeply feel her absence. On his Facebook page, family, he went on to share that she felt like she was doing the work she was called to do, that she was turning her life around, and really doing the work. Both of these women will be dearly missed by their families, by their friends, by their chosen families. Kai, we speak your name today. Family, for our last political story of the day, we've got more good news to accompany that Wisconsin story, okay? A Montana judge has blocked an anti-trans bathroom bill from going into effect. Now, you all have heard me report on Montana because this is the state where Representative Zoe Zephyr serves. And if you listen to this pod, you've definitely heard me mention her because she not only made history in Montana, becoming the first trans person to serve in the House, but she's also married to Aaron, who runs the Aaron in the Morning Substack, which is one of my trusted news sources, okay? She does an incredible job reporting on the news affecting trans folks across the country. Now, in Montana, they also have Representative S.J. Howell, another trans-identified elected official. And in early March, I reported about the big wins Zoe and S.J. secured, right? Along with allies, where they got Republicans to vote in line with Democratic policies as it pertains to trans folks' rights. When have you heard about Republicans, voting with Democrats on trans rights, let alone voting with Democrats at all? I mean, this was a huge win in Montana, okay? It was incredible. And now last week, a judge temporarily blocked the enforcement of an anti-trans bathroom bill. This bill would, of course, like all the other ones, require trans folks to use the bathrooms according to their sex at birth. And y'all know what public means, right? The state capitol, schools, jails, prisons, libraries, shelters, Chile, anything they control, okay? And honestly, I know what they think they want, but they don't want that. If a trans man walked into a women's bathroom, can I tell you the chaos that would ensue? It's ridiculous. Okay? And you know, I really love reporting about Montana because I feel like if the folks of Montana can get it, so can the rest of the country, okay? Now, I was so overwhelmed in the best possible way by the response to our Trans Day of Visibility special episode. Yes, we had 19 voices on that podcast. It is literally one of the best episodes I have ever produced in my life for this podcast, okay? And we had a couple come in after the deadline and after we had started production. So over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to play the ones that didn't make that episode. So let's take a quick break. Let's listen to another message from one of our trans sibs. And when we get back, we're going to jump into culture and entertainment.
Hey, my name is G baby. My pronouns is he, him. I've been transitioning for 2 months now, and I'm really excited about my journey. I got top surgery coming up, and I'm excited about that, and I'm just excited to be celebrating with my trans family. Thank you.
If you're hearing this, it means we didn't sell this ad space. If you're hearing this, it means running ads on our podcast actually can work. You see what I did there? You see this real life example? You got an event, do you have an organization, do you got something you need to get the word out about? We got rates starting as low as $100. Check the link in our show notes for more information.
My name is Jake Whittick. I am the managing editor of Windy City Times, which is Chicago's legacy LGBTQ+ newspaper since 1985. And this is a really exciting time to be part of the Windy City Times team because we're turning 40 this year and the paper's really primed to undergo a renaissance. And that's because we've been leveling up our newsletter game. And what's really exciting is Black Lines, which Anna is the writer for. And Black Lines is a publication that covered Chicago's Black queer community in the 90s and early 2000s. We've brought it back. So the newsletter shares current events, current news, features, everything affecting Black queer people, but also dives into the archives. So it's a really fun past meets present, and it's lifting up voices that are often underrepresented in news.
Jake, I am so excited to be part of reviving Black Lines. Family, if you want to subscribe, a link is in the show notes. Family, welcome back to the show. Let's jump into some culture and entertainment. First, I want to share about my experience traveling to DC last week to speak and experience AIDSWatch. So AIDSWatch is organized by AIDS United. AIDS United's mission is to end the HIV epidemic in the United States, period, okay? They envision a time when all people, governments, organizations commit to ending the epidemic and strengthening the health, well-being, and human rights of everyone impacted by HIV. Now, at AIDSWatch, over 500 advocates from across the country gathered together to descend upon Capitol Hill with their demands. It's a lobby day, okay? And it was so powerful to be there surrounded by folks doing the work. Their call to action to legislators were to not cut the Ryan White funds, but instead fully fund them, okay? Not to cut the CDC's HIV prevention fund, but to fully fund it, okay? Not to cut Medicaid, but to fully fund it. I also learned while attending that 40% of the people living with HIV rely on Medicaid for their needs. Any cut would directly impact them, which directly impacts us. I was asked to attend to speak on a panel. It was titled Masterclass, Advocacy in the Disinformation Age. I had the opportunity to join Johnny Cornegay of the Counter Narrative Project, Dr. Ravi Perry of Howard University, and Deshaun Usher, Senior Director of the Communities of Color and Media at GLAAD. The session was packed. My heart was full, okay? And we all talked about how we were showing up in the media, doing our work to counter all the misinformation. I believe that for every one story that the right makes, we have to make 3. And that was underscored by Deshaun's and GLAAD's research that says that right-wing media reaches 100 million people a week. Leftist media reaches 30 million. We absolutely have to make 3 stories to match their 1. And I got to share about the work we're doing here on Queer News to share our stories. Not all bad news, but the good news too, about how we're surviving out here during these times. It filled me up. It filled me up, and I feel so grateful to have been able to attend, to be able to continue to learn from folks who are directly impacted and doing the work. Thank you, CNP, and thank you, AIDS United, for having me. Family, I absolutely see it as a privilege to be welcomed into these spaces as a journalist and as someone who is a comrade in the fight. And I feel like it is my work, it is my duty to bring it back to you. So please know, 500 advocates descended, okay, upon Capitol Hill advocating for HIV funding. It was beautiful. For more culture news on Transgender Day of Visibility, TS Madison cut the ribbon of her TS Madison Starter House. She made the announcement about the Starter House last year, and now it's a reality. The Starter House is based in Atlanta and will be for formerly incarcerated Black trans women to get back on their feet. TS is using one of her former homes as the location, and it is absolutely beautiful. The women will participate in a 90-day re-entry program, okay? And they're gonna offer a number of direct services in partnership with NASM. And NASM is one of the oldest Black-led HIV/AIDS service organizations in the South, okay? They're gonna provide stable housing, gender-affirming care, job assistance, GED support, life skills training, nutrition education, and individualized therapy. TS says this is about providing not only shelter, but access to opportunities they've been denied. I wanted to make a space for these girls. I wanted to teach them how to be successful without relying on their bodies, but on their other gifts. TS Madison went on to explain that this house is not government funded, okay? This is funded by the people and for the people. And so, family, if you're hearing this story and you want to support this effort, you can, okay? You can make a donation, and I included a link in the show notes. I promise you, family, when I say that culture and entertainment is what's going to get us through, I really mean it. We are going to save ourselves, quite literally, okay? And most recently, Survival of the Thickest Season 2 has dropped on Netflix. I binged it already, and I hope you have as well. And I love seeing Peppermint win, okay? I got to interview Peppermint at the DNC last year. Let me just run that back real quick for y'all.
It feels great to be me in the world. I think that's one of the things I'm really grateful for is I've always been able to tap into the joy of being queer and all those different things. I've always been able to at least rely on our community, and I think that we're in a different space now. Now, we already know we exist, so we don't need somebody to just be like, look, these people exist. We want to see us being brought into the fold, bring us into your administration, bring us in, bring our issues in, and I'm encouraged by the signals that it looks like that's what's happening.
Yes, okay. Well, that's definitely what's happening with Peppermint's role in the second season of Survival of the Thickest. I saw a headline that said Season 2 is about showing up for those who felt left out of happy endings. And that's exactly what it is. Survival of the Thickest is brought to us by comedian and actor and writer Michelle Buteau. She's so unapologetically supportive of the queer community. And she is not backing down from telling her story of being a big, beautiful Black woman in the world and our queer stories. Stories of community, stories of love. I saw her on Stephen Colbert, and she said, this is about uplifting Black, brown, fat, queer, trans, non-binary voices. We all matter, and we deserve this moment. Yes, we do. And I ain't trying to spoil it for you, okay? But I just want to let y'all know Peppermint has a beautiful happy ending, okay? As a Black trans woman, she deserves a happy ending, and so does every other Black trans woman I know and don't know. Michelle Buteau has created something where folks can feel seen. That's what we need, and that's why culture is going to get us through. If you haven't watched it, go binge it, okay? Go support. We need more. We need more. Because after this season, who knows if it'll actually get renewed? Because, you know, that's the world we live in. Now, family, it's that time of the show for Anna's Got a Word, because Anna's always got a word. And it is April, which means it is National Poetry Month. So every week this month, I figure I'll just share another portion of a poem by a queer artist, right? Of course. So I felt like for this first week in April, we should read a portion of a poem by Nikki Giovanni, given we just lost her last year. So I decided to read a portion of her poem from Ego Trippin', which speaks to her power and pride in both her African heritage and her womanhood. I am so hip, even my errors are correct. I sailed west to reach east and had to round off the earth as I went. The hair from my head thinned and gold was laid across 3 continents. I am so perfect, so divine, so ethereal, so surreal. I cannot be comprehended except by my permission. I mean, I can fly like a bird in the sky. If you've enjoyed what you heard, rate and review us inside your favorite podcasting app. This podcast is written and produced by me, Anna Deshawn. Podcast editing by Ryan Woodhall, and brought to you by E3 Radio and distributed on The Cube. We are Queer News Done Right.